The Adventures of Sodor, The Early Years, Episode 8, The Black Engine. At Vickerstown Station, Winston, Edward and Henry, who is now painted blue, which was muddled up the passengers into thinking he was Gordon to how similar they now looked, were at Vickerstown Station. Winston was getting ready to pull the mail train, while Edward was getting ready to shunt the next train for his train, and Henry was waiting for the guard's whistle to blow so he could take his express. I was told that Sir Topham had us brought a new engine to the line to pull Gordon's express while he's getting repaired, said Edward. I wonder who it is, said Winston. It could be another big, strong engine like me, said Henry. It could be the Flying Scotsman for all we know, said Henry. You're quite right, said Winston. Then they heard a whistle, but only Winston recognised it. Who's that? Said Edward. It's my brother, said Winston. He was excited. They heard a loud three-chimed steam whistle as an engine came racing into Vickerstown Station, and the engine said, "Here is James," said the engine. Edward and Henry were shocked. "Oh, hello, Winston. Been a long time, hasn't it?" said James. "Yes, it is," said Winston. "I see you still got your grand entrances," said Winston. "Oh, I do," said James. Edward and Henry were shocked. They had never seen an engine get quickly to talking with another engine before, especially one knowing each other. "So, how's your work on the Lancashire and Yorkshire Railway, James?" said Winston. "Oh, it's been good. I was sold here, though, to pull an express train. Apparently, a big blue engine has broken their safety valve, so apparently I need to pull their express train," said James. "You are very knowledgeable," said Henry. "Are you that big blue engine I heard about?" said James, peeking over from the coach. No, I'm Henry. The engine you're meaning is Gordon. We look very similar, though. He has, like, things on his smoke box, a smaller firebox. Well, you know what I mean. A different tender, trailing wheels at the back on his body. You know what I mean, said Henry. As well as a different whistle and face, but we've never seen an engine as strange as you before, said Henry. "Well, what about my brother here, Winston?" said James. "Okay, you win over that," said Henry, "but we've never seen an engine with that kind of tender before. Usually they're with a more modern tender," said Henry. "You know, like a Fowler tender, or like a tender that's like mine. Mine's is still a Fowler tender, but you'll get what I mean," said Henry. "Okay, you big blue steamy," said James as he passed the coaches. "But I need to take my express train now." "You mean Gordon's express train?" said Edward. "Yes, Gordon's," said James. "So, James, are you sure you can pull this train?" said Winston. "Of course I can," said James. "Remember, I was the fastest engine on my railway," said James. "If you say so, James," said Winston. "I will say it's nice to see a locomotive member here," said James. "Anyways, I get to pulling this express train. I'll see you in maybe a couple hours," said James. "Okay," said Edward. "I was not expecting this," said Henry. Good luck, James, said Winston. Good luck to you too, Winston and Henry, and it's Edward. I was a rebuilt. I was I was a little bit rebuilt K2. They was wanting to upgrade out my class, but they ended up not deciding to do it and left me like this. They said it was not very functional due to not really having anything change, said Edward. Oh, you still look like a normal K2 to me, said James. There was a K2 on my railway, you know, he said. Oh, said Edward. Yeah, there was a K2 on our railway. But anyway, get to work, will you, James? We can't keep the passengers waiting. I get you could talk all day, but we can't keep the passengers waiting, said Winston. Sure thing, Winston, said James. He blew his 3-chimed steam whistle and he steamed off to couple up to the coaches. He's a really happy engine, isn't he? Said Winston. Well, has a very loud whistle, said Henry. And it's just hurting my ears, or whatever an engine has to hear through, said Edward. Oh, don't worry. We can't keep he'll be having his whistle replaced. He'll have a whistle like mine. You mean a whistle that's curved, put on your cab, and then has like my whistle, but it's tilted or something like that, said Edward. Yes, that will be a much better whistle for him, said Winston. If you say so, said Henry. Then they heard the 3-chimed steam whistle again. Ah! They both, said Edward. Oh my, I cannot wait for him to have that whistle replaced, said Henry. Soon James began to slowly back up to the coaches. Say, if I do this correctly, Winston, I might get my own passenger train, says James, when Gordon comes back. Oh, you might do, James, said Winston. I've heard they're making some new coaches for branch line, or for a slow passenger train on this line, said Winston. Oh, maybe I'll be the one to put it, said James. Okay, don't get too ahead of yourself now, James, said Henry. Oh, right, sorry, Henry. I'm just so excited to be working on this railway. Like, I could be the number 1 of this railway if I worked hard enough, said James. No, you could be, said Winston. Now be careful, James, said Edward. The Gordon's Express coaches need care. They're able to talk without a face, said Edward. They must be cared for. They're not like those faceless coaches where you can bump and bash them about, said Edward. Oh, please, Edward, I know how to handle coaches. If they are not behaving, then you just give them a little shake. They'll have so much fun with me, said James. Oh, no, said the coaches. If you say so, said Edward. Soon the guard's whistle blew. James blew his 3-chimed steam whistle. Ah! Said Henry and Edward, and James steamed off. James is leaving the station, he said, and he raced along the line. For a Lancashire and Yorkshire engine, I'm a very fast engine, aren't I? Said James. Especially one of my class. Oh my, he's fast, said the coaches. It's not as fast as Gordon though, said the second coach. Woohoo, said James. His wheels were whirring so fast. He ended up coming up to the big hill on the main line. I'm looking forward to being on this railway, said James. But you are a part of the railway, said the first coach. Whee! Said James. He was racing up the hill. He got around the corner and then he went flying down the hill. Yippee! He said. He was at max. He was going as fast as he could. He was at max speed. I can't wait to get to the docks, he said. He was so excited. As he approached Wellsworth, he was about to miss the station. Woo-hoo! He said. And he missed the station. Yippee! He said. Oh no, get back here, said Neil. But James didn't hear. He was racing along the line so happily. Woo-hoo! He said. He raced around the corner, another corner, and eventually reached the tracks going over to Brendam Docks. Way! He said. You're going too fast, we missed the station, said the coaches. But James didn't hear. He raced into the docks and braked as hard as he could as smoke came off his brake blocks. That's a new record for me, said James. And then a big green crane at the docks turned over to James. What are you doing here? said the big green crane. Oh, hello, said James. I'm a new engineer. Then why are you paddling Gordon's Express? Said the crane. Oh, sorry, big green crane, said James. I was sent to pull this express. Well, your coaches have been telling you that you missed a station, said the crane. Wait, what? Said James. You missed a station, Wellsworth, said the crane. Oh, thank you, Mr. Crane. By the way, what are you called? Said James. I was brought here when 98462 was. I was sent to help unload things, said the crane. Okay, but that does not explain why you're here. What's your name? Said James. It's Cranky, said the crane, and he turned over to the ship. Oh, sorry, said James. I didn't mean to disturb you, said James. That's okay. And Cranky went to unloading stuff from the ship. Hope you have a good day, said James. And I hope you have a good one too, said Cranky. He was extremely cross. And thank you again, said James. Oh, you're welcome, said the crane. And he went back to work. But before James could exit the docks, he saw a small green tank engine that looks like a box. Oh, hello, who are you? Said James. I'm Neil, said Neil. You passed Wellsworth. You were meant to stop there, but I told you and you didn't come back, said Neil. Oh, sorry, I was having the time of my life, said James. I'm James. I'm a new engine here. I was sent to pull Gordon's express train while he's getting repaired, said James. Oh, you have a lot to learn, James, said Neil. You have to stop at Wellsworth, aka the last station you passed by, said Neil. Sorry, Neil, said James. You see, I'm new around here and I didn't know that. Maybe I can show you the express line on your railway, said Neil. I will be greatly thankful for that, said James. Well, first off, you do need to stop at Crosby. You did stop there, right? Said Neil. What's Crosby? Is it the station before Wellsworth? Said James. Oh, you don't know that that's the station you're meant to stop at, do you? Said Neil. I don't. So Neil went to show James around the railway. At the end of the night, Neil showed James the way to Vickerstown sheds and back to Vickerstown. Thank you, Neil, said James. Thank you for showing me around, he said. You're welcome, said Neil. I might as well sleep here tonight since I'm here. and plus it will take me at least half the night to get back to Wellsworth, said Neil. Say, Neil, didn't your line close back in 1901? Said Winston. Oh, right. Apparently they wanted to reopen our line, so it was a branch line, says Neil. So it's a branch line, and technically we're part of your railway, said Neil, but we're not really. We're sort of part of your railway since we sort of work on your railway, but we're not really part of it. It's a bit confusing how to say it. We are basically part of your railway despite not actually being part of your railway. Like I said, it's very confusing, said Neil. That's okay, Neil. We know that's, said Edward. May I go into next to, Henry there? Said James. Yes, you can, James, said Winston. Thank you, said James. So he went and pulled up beside Henry. Say, why are there 2 more berths here? Said James. Well, said Winston and Edward. You see, said Winston, there are 3 other engines that sleep here. 98462, 87546 and Gordon. I don't know where either one of them are going to sleep then, if Ho's going to sleep in those places now, said Winston. Yes, said Edward. Since you're on the railway now, they can't all fit into those berths, said Edward. You're right, said Neil. One of them will have to sleep in the yard. I've heard there is a cosy side in there though. They want to build a shed, but then we also have a shed. Well, there's also a shed near the works. It's mainly where the engines at the works sleep, if they want to get an engine, but they do allow engines that no longer have a berth to sleep there, or if they want to, of course, since they don't have any engines right now, says Neil. 98462 is the rudest, James. 87546, he's not as rude, but he's a little rude, said Edward. Okay, said James. What do they look like? said James. Well, right now, 87546 is basically Henry, but much smaller. While 98462 is like you, with my front bogie wheels painted blue, so yes, said Edward. My, those are very fancy looking engines, said James. Yes, they are, said Edward. Oh look, here comes the Topham Hatt the first, said Neil. Hello, said Sir Topham Hatt. Hello, they all said. I see you've done well with the express today, James, even if there were some casualties, said Sir Topham Hatt. Yes, I did. Thanks to Neil, I didn't get all mixed up, said James. I heard the passengers had a very pleasant time, even if you did muddle up the ride. Anyway, said Sir Topham, I've heard from the railway board that they're wanting to merge all railways together to be one big railway, said Sir Topham Hatt. Ooh, said Winston, James, Edward and Neil. This means the Sodor Midlands Railway, your railway, Edward, James and Winston, and the Wellsworth and Sudbury Railway will be merged into one big railway. It will be called the North Western Railway, said Sir Topham Hatt. Ooh, they all said. This will expand a lot of our trains. From now on, we will have longer trips with our trains. So I'm going to have Gordon get his old tender back if I can, so we can pull the express for its longer runs. He didn't need the tender before since of how short the runs were, but I told the people at the works that the crew to not break it away, but if they had to, they had to. So, yes. Okay, sir, they all said. When Gordon comes back, expect him with an L in the yard with a Great Northern Railways looking tender. They're like the tender he had when he first arrived, said Sir Topham Hatt. Okay, they all said. Psst, said James. What's a GNR looking tender, said James. It's like Henry's tender, said Winston, except it has 8 wheels instead of 6, much longer, and it looks a bit strange, you could say, said Winston. Okay, said James. Anyways, that's going to be it for now. I'm going to go and see if I can find that tender, said Sir Topham Hatt, and he walked away. I also heard that his repairs are nearly done, so he should be arriving back tomorrow if it's ready, said Edward. Ooh, said James. Well, I'll be looking forward to seeing him again. He was such a friendly engine, said Neil. Soon Sir Topham Hatt came to the works. It was lighted up, and he saw the manager of the works. Hello, he said. Hello, said the manager. I see you're looking at this tender, he said. Yes, I'm trying to find Gordon's old tender, said Sir Topham Hatt. Well, I've had to break it apart, said the manager. But I told you to not break it apart, said Sir Topham. I know, I'm sorry, he said, but I had to, since we were running low on money and we needed to get more money, and we needed to get new parts. Even if we didn't need the parts, this tender was not worked on many other engines that come here, see, said the manager. Oh, right. Anyway, I think you've heard about the railway boards combining many railways. Yes, this is a replica of the Flying Scotsman tender. It's been updated to have the LNER logo in. I still need to put all the functions into it, but other than that, it's pretty much ready to go, said the manager. Can you paint it up to look like Gordon's tender for now? We do need to he's returning from the work soon, and we need him to have a new tender, said Sir Topham Hatt. Okay, said the manager, and he told the workmen to get to work repainting the tender and to add functioning parts to it. They began to scrape the paint off it and bring new parts into the tender. They worked as hard as they could until they got the finished product. The tender was painted blue. It had red lining and NWR 4 on the tender. Sir Topham Hatt was very pleased with this tender and immediately orders Gordon to come and pick up the tender. He was pushed there, to be exact. Soon the workman pushed Gordon and coupled him up to his new tender. Oh, this tender is sure is good, said Gordon. Feels very comfy, he said. That's a good thing, said Sir Topham Hatt. Now, Gordon, I need you to head back over to Vicarstown Sheds. The North Western Railway's grand opening will be happening. We'll also be having 2 new engines join the railway. One is of a new class I've been thinking of for a long time, and if he's successful, we will accept more of these classes onto this railway. If I think he's successful, then I'll build more of his class. The other one is coming from America. He is going to be a black tank engine, and you'll be working on for the goods trains. You and Henry will be pulling express trains. Well, Winston, James. Who is James? Said Gordon. Oh, you will find out when you reach the sheds. But you and Henry will be putting the express work. Neil, Clive and Matthew will be helping out at the yard, strunting. James, Winston and Edward will be pulling goods and passengers, while Colin, Lily and Adam, I have not figured out what to do with them yet, along with their fourth engine. Why do you keep the fourth engine of the Wordsworth and Sudbury Railway such a secret, sir? Said Gordon. You'll find out. Henry's already met him, and so has Wordsworth and Sudbury engines, as well as Neil, Clive and Matthew, said Sir Topham Hatt. Mate, Henry's met the engine. Only when he was in the tunnel. He never caught a proper glimpse of this engine. But this engine is the number 4 of the railway. Okay, sir, said Gordon. Anyway, let me get into your cab and then we can carry on over to the sheds, said Sir Topham. Yes, sir, said Gordon, and he steamed off. Gordon raced in the night over to Vickerstown sheds. He had exited the lighted up works and was now on the express line to Vickerstown sheds. You're doing well, Gordon. Make sure not to go too fast again. You don't want to burst the safety valve, said Sir Topham. Oh, one more careful, said Gordon. He quickly raced across the island over to Vickerstown sheds. You'll enjoy this new James engine. He's very happy and bright and cheerful, said Sir Topham. Oh, that sounds nice, said Gordon. Then Edward, Neil and Winston, along with James, looked over to Gordon. It's good to be back, said Gordon. Yes, it is, said Sir Topham Hatt. Gordon's all fixed up. He just had a bit of repairs on his safety valve, that's all, said Sir Topham Hatt. Okay, said Edward. So you must be this Gordon. Henry was right. You sure do look like Henry, said James. So you must be this James I've heard about. You sure are a happy engine, said Gordon. Yes, and I like your tender, said James. It's not what I envisioned, but I was told that it was, but it's sort of what Winston described it as. Say, why are you both looking so similar? Same with you, Edward. You have never realised how similar you, Winston and James look. Well, I'm not related to them, said Edward. Well, me and James used to work on the Lancashire and Yorkshire Railway. Then I was sent over to the Furness Railway and James stayed at the Lancashire and Yorkshire Railway, and I went to work with Edward on the Furness Railway. Then we were both sold to work on this railway, and soon James was sent to come and work on this railway to do your express work while you were not here, said Winston. Oh, well, I've heard we have 2 new engines coming. One is a tank engine, and they're both tank engines. One's going to be, well, Neil and... Oh, never mind. I was only told what the black tank engine will be doing, said Gordon. And what's he doing, said James. Wait, I wasn't told, was I? That's right, said Sir Topham. The black tank engine will be doing goods work, and I was already told you, I'm pretty sure. Well, the new tank engine will be the new number 1 of this railway. He'll also be doing the same jobs as Edward, Winston and James, pulling passengers and goods, said Sir Topham. Okay, said Gordon. Gordon, you better get into your shed, it's freezing out here, said Neil. You're right. Say, what happened to 9846 and 87546, said Gordon. I actually don't know, said Edward. Oh, they were sent to go and be with the Railsworth and Sudbury engines for about a week after you were sent through the works. You see, they have been causing a lot of trouble on this railway, so they were sent to go and work with the Railsworth and Sudbury engines, said Winston. Oh, luckily it only took me about 5 days to get repaired, said Gordon. Yes, you'll be back tomorrow, well, the day after tomorrow, said Edward. You're all right, said Gordon. We better get some sleep. We're looking forward to the grand opening of the North Western Railway tomorrow, said Neil. You're right. Hopefully this new opening will bring a new era to the North Western Railway, said Gordon. You get coming into these sheds as well, Neil, said Gordon. If you can come in, you know. It's freezing out here, said Gordon. Oh, all right then, you bring me over, said Neil. I've forgotten how cozy these sheds are, if they were even warm or not. Oh, they're warm all right, said Gordon. It's nice to have you back, Gordon, said Edward and Winston. And it's nice to meet you, Gordon, said James. Nice to meet you and be back with you all as well. Okay, said Neil, we better get some sleep. We have a big day lying ahead of us tomorrow, said Neil. You're right, said Winston. Everyone will be there. Yes, and even the number 4 of the Railsworth and Sudbury Railway, said Neil. Say, who is this number 4? Why does the Tottenham Hats keep it so secret from us? Said Edward. From what I've heard, said Gordon, I've heard that he was he was actually the first engine on the Railsworth and Sudbury Railway, said Gordon. And I suppose you have not heard of the old black engine that used to run on this line, said Neil. What old black engine? Said Edward and Winston. Oh, said Neil. According to rumours, there was an old black engine that used to run on this line, or on this island. It was rumoured that he was sent away for how old he was, and it was said that he's not been found ever since, said Neil. At least that's what the rumours say. An old black engine, said Edward. That is interesting, said Winston. Anyway, we better get to sleep now, said Neil. I agree with Neil, said Gordon. So the engines went to sleep. The engines did go to sleep, but James couldn't help laughing in his sleep for no reason. Laughed James, but the engines were happy and excited for the next day.